Hi, everybody. Thank you for tuning in today here on YouTube. I'm Doug Miles. The following is an interview I did recently with the great comedian Jackie Mason on my radio program, which airs here in Sarasota, Florida. He came through and played one of the local theaters. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more interviews here on YouTube with Doug Miles. And we have a very special guest to start off our show today. Very busy man. We want to get him on as soon as we can. He'll be performing this Sunday at the Van Wezel at 8 o'clock. One of the legends of comedy. He was with us last year. He joined us now by telephone. The great Jackie Mason. How are you, Jackie?
Well, thank God you got the right guy.
It could only be you, Jackie.
You didn't make too big a mistake this time. You could have picked out any one of the old Jews in the neighborhood, but thank God you found me.
I found you. You know, we were talking.
Well, I'm bathing in a lot of glory right now because I just 3 days ago at a banquet in New York. I was given the Comedy Stars Award of the Year. Every year, the top comedy stars of America take a poll of who's their favorite comedian, and I won again for the third year in a row.
Oh, congratulations!
As the comedian's favorite comedian, so that's a great honor to me, because it's one thing when laymen like you, and I certainly appreciate it, because I depend on them for a living. The comedians hardly ever show up, and if they do, it's always a free ticket. So they cost me money, even though the honor is fantastic. They cost me a fortune, but as much as I appreciate the laymen's showing up at my shows, and I make a living from them, nevertheless, there's something about your own peers honoring you this way as their own favorite comedian that is a special notch in your belt and give you an extra source of pleasure and confidence that you're somebody to the people who know the most about your own business.
Well, that's great. We were talking to Bill Dana earlier this week, Jack, and he sends his love to you. You want us to say hello to you?
Well, thank you. I'm crazy about him. He's a brilliant guy.
Yeah, a lot of fun to talk to him.
He's a great comedy writer, and he's written some of the best shows in the history of television.
Really has. But, Jackie, I know you just came off a wonderful success again on Broadway. Congratulations on that.
Well, thank you. This was my 8th Broadway show, and thank God it's still packed, because when people come to see me, they know that every show is totally different than any previous show. I never repeat any jokes like a lot of comedians. When you see them when they're 90 or when they're 20, it's still the same jokes. They act like they never know the world changed, that the Titanic never sunk, they never knew that there was a war declared. They think Abraham Lincoln is still the president. They never seem to think that it's time to read a paper and find out if there's something new in the world. But I'm a very intensive student of all the world affairs, and I make sure that I'm a voracious reader, and I keep up with what's happening, and I make sure I adapt my comedy to the new world. Everything changes, and the comedy should change too. Besides, I don't think it's good taste to charge money for an old story. If I sold you the story a year ago and you heard it already, I think it's bad taste and it's unfair. Not only that, I think people like that should be put in jail because they're basically stealing money from Jewish people. If I sold you a shirt and you paid for it already, I don't try to sell you the same shirt again. So what right do I have to try to sell you the same joke again? You paid for it already.
I never thought of that. That's good logic.
Even if a guy comes to your house and tells you a joke, and you say, that's hilarious, then he comes back the next day, he says, you want to hear it again? You start to get nauseous. If an average joke could manage to tell you a new joke, why should you pay for it for the second time?
Well, that's great. What do you make of what's going on in Washington, Jackie?
Well, what's going on in Washington, I've been watching the hearings with Judge Alito. When I watch Kennedy attacking this guy and the wife crying like that, I say to myself, This wasn't an interrogation. This was an inquisition. This looked like he kidnapped a couple of children, or he was either a child molester or a mass murderer. The way he was questioning him, there was no respect in the questions. There was no civility. He just said, "You have the nerve to tell me."
Yeah, it really is
tough. You made a mistake. You have a right to claim you made a mistake. If somebody asked Kennedy, nobody should be forgiven for a mistake. How would he still be around as a free man?
That's true.
He would be doing a life sentence in Dannemora by now.
That's true. Right. That's funny.
It takes a lot of nerve for a guy who left a woman swimming in the ocean and forgot about her to tell somebody you can't make a mistake.
Yeah, it is tough to watch those hearings.
I don't want to talk politics.
No.
That's by nature. And I'm saying it because it's a Democrat or Republican. There's such a thing as a simple decency. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, if you just have a job as a senator, you should have some respect for the person you're talking to who's a judge. He's not a judge just because you want to find out if he's on your side or not politically. To act like he's a mass murderer, it was really disgusting. And when the wife started crying, I think it was the worst day in the history of this whole business of supposedly advising consent from the United States Senate. This is not advising consent. This is hate, venom, and hostility.
Well, I know in your shows, like you said, I mean, you can take pretty much any story of the day's news and you make great comedy out of it. Do you change your show from day to day as well with that day's headlines?
Yes, I change my show from day to day as well, but not by that much, because that's not happens in one day. But I certainly make sure that by the time 3-4 months has passed, you don't hear the same jokes anymore. And every time I come to Broadway, I've done a totally new show. That's why guys like Jerry Seinfeld come to all my shows and all the other comedians, because every time they come, they tell me the same thing. How do you develop a whole new show for 2 full hours every time I see you? I tell them it's by reading a paper, my friend. I told Jerry Seinfeld, you ever stop to think of reading a paper? You think just from buying $30 million homes and collecting furniture, you're going to know what's happening?
Well, that's why I know you also do some of the great routines that you've come up with, the difference between Jews and Gentiles. I know you do that in most of your shows too, don't you?
Yeah, there's always a section in my show about the difference between Jews and Gentiles, but I don't dwell on it too much because I think too many people have heard that stuff too many times in too many variations, and I wanted to let them know that today I'm talking about the new trends and problems. Like I do a lot of routines about the new things like gay-sex marriage. I do a whole piece of business about that. I do a lot about the whole business with the war, about how Bush is still looking for weapons of mass destruction, and Kerry is still trying to find out which side of the war he's on. How he still doesn't know if he's for or against it. Monday, he's slightly for it. Tuesday, he's almost against it. Wednesday, he's thinking it over. Thursday, we should never have been there in the first place. So you say to him, if we shouldn't have been there, why don't we leave? He said, no, you don't leave. That's not nice. That's like punching a guy in the mouth and somebody tells you, that's the wrong guy. He says, yeah, but I started already. Too late.
That's great. Well, Jackie, I know
I have too much talent to give my jokes away for these prices.
That's right.
Like living on this show, and if I tell too many jokes here, you know what everybody's going to say? I heard them already. Why should I come to the show?
We always want to give the audience a taste. Jackie, you're going to be Sunday at the Van Wezel. I know Sarasota always loves seeing you.
Well, God bless you. I'll be very happy to see you, and even though I'm sure you're going to get a free ticket, but I'll take a loss. I'm willing to take a loss because you're giving me good publicity on this show, and I know I still have a few empty seats. I heard about it. There's a few stupid people who didn't show up yet.
Yeah, we'll get them in there for you.
Well, God bless you.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thanks for giving me the chance to plug the story. I appreciate it.
It's always a treat to talk to you.
If you come around, I'll be happy to say hello to you. I want to take a look at this guy who gave me a chance to talk on the radio right now.
Great. Jackie, we'll do it again real soon. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, my friend.